Good morning, everybody. It's Pastor John with another edition of Monday Morning Quarterback. So yesterday in the sermon, I made the point that grace is free, but it isn't cheap. Cheap grace, grace that really requires nothing of us. It's all about what we receive, but not really what we offer, what we sacrifice. That concept was developed by 20th century German theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And Bonhoeffer did not develop his theology from the safe confines of an ivory tower in some seminary. He came to his truth through experience as well as academic study. By the age of 24, Bonhoeffer was a lecturer in systematic theology at Berlin University. In 1933, when Adolf Hitler came to power, he was one of the few who saw the danger that lay ahead. And he left the university and became a pastor in London for a few years. In 1935, he returned to Germany to direct an illegal church training college. Now, this was illegal because it was set up outside the authority of the official state church that essentially, obeyed the will and the whim of the Führer. It did not allow itself, Bonhoeffer's seminary did not allow itself to be scrutinized by the state. Now, when war broke out in 1939, friends begged Bonhoeffer to leave Germany, but he refused to do so, saying this: "I shall have no right to participate in the reconstruction of Christian life in Germany after the war if I do not share the trials of this time with my people." So Bonhoeffer joined the resistance movement against Hitler, and in April of 1943, he was arrested by the Gestapo. He continued to minister to his fellow prisoners, both in jail and then in the concentration camps in which he was held. And he maintained an active correspondence with loved ones and colleagues outside of prison. Many of those letters we still have today. And on April 9th, 1945, just 12 days before it was liberated by the Allies, Bonhoeffer was executed at the concentration camp in Flossenbürg, Germany. Now, Dietrich Bonhoeffer was not the first Christian martyr, and he would not be the last. But he lived his principle of counting the cost of discipleship and becoming a disciple anyway. Speaking of Bonhoeffer, author Paul Scott Wilson wrote in the Abington Theological Companion to the Lectionary, he wrote this. He wrote, "We, along with Peter, are charged to set to the side our expected destinies and enter into a completely different way of thinking about life and value. In contrast to the approach of this world, which tells us to protect ourselves by staying in good stead with those who have greater power and influence, Jesus teaches life can be saved only when we remain faithful to Him and the gospel. We receive again from Jesus the invitation to journey toward the cross, but always as life-loving people of faith who hold the destinies God promises in clear view." This, Wilson wrote, was the theology, but also the path of discipleship that Bonhoeffer exemplified for all of us. And we learned the potential cost from Dietrich Bonhoeffer. As we continue our sermon series, Walking with Jesus in the Gospel of Luke, we remember that all of the passages that we are going to cover in this sermon series are based on experiences that Jesus had as he made his final pilgrimage to the cross So Jesus had that cross in view the entire time, and that impacted his teaching. Jesus was counting the cost of faithfulness to God, and he was willing to pay that cost. That is why when we talk about our walk with Jesus, as Scott Wilson said, we receive again from Jesus the invitation to journey toward the cross, toward our cross. You see, death is a path to new life. Death is a path to new life. When we die to the world, we live to Christ. When we in the church learn that, we will truly be free in Christ. When we in the church learn that, we will again have an impact on this world. Have a wonderful week, my friends. God bless.